Time is short. If someone had told me when I was 20 years old that life was very short and would pass just like that, I wouldn't have believed it. Every one of us here has been given the same amount of time in a day. 1,440 minutes a day, 168 hours per week. It doesn't matter whether you live another year or 2 years or 5 years. It's the quality of life, not the length. Jesus only had 33 years, and it ended on the cross. To the world, he was a failure at that moment. Yet at the end of his life, he said, I finished the work that thou gavest me to do. Will your work be finished? Is there a quality to it? Is there a dedication to it? I'd write down my priorities in life. And I'd get committed to certain priorities. Now is the accepted time. The family that needs you, spend more time now. Money you ought to give now. People you ought to witness to, do it now. Every time the clock ticks, it seems to say now, today. If there was ever a time for the gospel that can transform the human heart, it's now.
You can be seated. And would you please welcome with me Pastor Rod Reed is coming.
Well, my friends, I have the great honor and privilege tonight to introduce our speaker, the chairman of our fellowship. And when I was given this honor, I thought of this passage in 1 Thessalonians, the 2nd chapter, in the 8th verse. It says, having so fond an affection for you, we were well pleased to impart to you not only the gospel of God, but also our own lives, because you have become very dear to us. I've had the great honor to literally travel with our chairman all over the world, and I see the same thing everywhere I go, and it always convicts me, and it always ministers to me, that he genuinely considers people very dear to himself. He genuinely loves you, the ministers and those that have ministries. And so it is with my great honor and privilege I have tonight to share with you our chairman, Pastor Phillip Miles.
Love you, man. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you. You may be seated. I want to say thank you so much to Seacoast for hosting us. Thank you. And I want to say thank you to our volunteers. They did a good job tonight, didn't they, serving us? And they're amazing people. Especially Pastor David, our campus pastor here. He's been remarkable and just so easy to work with and so desiring to please and could not be better. I want to thank our executive director, Debbie Dixon. Y'all know Debbie? I always just could put a parenthesis under Debbie's name, and it would say a party waiting to happen. That's just Debbie, you know. And then Reed Cater, our media guy, and Reed has done a phenomenal. Have y'all been on Facebook lately and checked around? If not, Reed done a tremendous job, all with our graphics and things like that. It really has been a great blessing, and I want to say thank you to Harry and the worship team too. It was great. The guy on the bass over there, that's Skip Smaldone. Skip was playing for the Gatlin Brothers and different groups down at the beach. And it was his first job in ministry, bless his heart, quite a few years back when we were Christ Community Church, and he was our worship leader. And so he's got a lot of war stories to tell. And so just to give you the heads up if you get a chance to talk to him. So anyway, I appreciate him coming, and also Treva, filling in on the keyboard, and it doesn't get any better than that. So it's great. Thank you. Greg Hennett is here, and Greg, where are you? Wave at us. I can't. There you are in the back. Greg is a prolific author, and he's written several books, and he has a table in the back. And Greg, he really specializes in end-time prophecy, and his latest book, called The Second Coming of Christ, is appearing, his return, our preparation. And he dives deep into the subject of the second coming of Jesus Christ. And so for a lot of people who don't have the resources or the time to do all that deep digging, you're going to be able just to get his book. Isn't that neat? And he's running a special right now for the conference, and he's got 4 books that he has written that are being published right now. And if I can read with these lights here, The Second Coming, then Revelation Notes, The Day of the Lord Commentary, and The Tribulation Story. And anyway, he's going to sell those books at the conference for $10 each. So if you get a chance to go out into the lobby and talk to Greg, super guy, and he'd love to talk to you about his books. It's really good to be together again. And golly, I mean, it's some of you guys I haven't seen for a while. And I know the Bradamans, it was like 7 years, they had counted it up, and I felt even worse when I heard the 7. And so everybody's got a lot going on, everybody's busy, and we have a big responsibility. And so I'm just so excited to see all of you again. And I've really been praying about our time together, and I feel like the Lord gave me a message quite a while back, and so I've been kind of mulling this over and working it over in my mind. I think we're becoming aware of how much we need each other. Life is hard. Life right now is very challenging. And, it's hard enough for me to get ahead of myself. I need to slow down. But, family is everything, I think. Spiritually and naturally, I think family is everything. And it makes a difference when you work with people and you serve with people that you love and care about. And used to be, we would have these, conferences, and you'd have maybe missionaries, and they would come up, and now all you knew about them was they were in some country, and you knew their name. But we have a privilege now of really getting close to people, getting to know people, and know that they have families and they have dreams, and they have gifts and abilities. And so I just want to say that it's such a joy to be able to serve with our global partners right now. Looking back over the last couple of years, I don't know that anybody in this room was really prepared for the intensity of the battle that you and I have been through over the last couple of years. The level of loss has been beyond what we really thought could happen, dreamed would happen. Some really good people passed away. We've lost some EFI pastors, and it's been really hard on their congregations. That we've, been a struggle, it's been a challenge, and almost as painful. And you'd have to be a pastor to even say something like that. Almost as painful is the really good people that just stopped coming to church. I mean, it's just mind-blowing. People that at one time were not only were friends, but were workers and were dedicated and were involved, and they had responsibility. And then all of a sudden, for whatever reason now, they're just not there. They've just sort of gone to their couch, and they've somehow gotten comfortable just sort of live streaming or whatever it is that people are doing. And it's left a vacuum that a lot of people have still not been able to fill. And it's honestly still a mystery for a lot of us. It is for me. So what's happened over the last couple of years, I think we've cried out to God like never before. We really have had to. I mean, honestly, we've had to. Because what we were comfortable with had changed. What we knew, the way we were trained, the way we were taught, and all that, the circumstances had seemed to have changed in our culture, in our world. And so we've had to cry out to God just to make sure that we were on track, that, we weren't doing something wrong, that God was in control. And I thought about the sons of Issachar, in Chronicles, 1 Chronicles 12. So they understood the times, it says, and they understood the signs of the times, and they knew what was the best course for Israel to take. And so considering that, I've got 4 points I want to share with us tonight that hopefully will be of help to us. Number 1, many of the changes that have taken place over the last 2 years have been long overdue. I mean, a lot of us have made changes that we would have never made had we not been pushed into a corner. I mean, I hate to say it, some of you out there, you've had to let go of some staff, but you should have let go of them 2 or 3 years ago. But you just couldn't do it. We've had to re-examine just what we're doing and why we're doing it. And I think one of the most important reassessments that you and I have made over the last couple of years is really having to determine, once again, what is it that really matters? I mean, that's important. What is it that really matters? I know Paul told the church at Philippi, for I want you to understand what really matters. I thought, when I read that, and I read that, a while back, and I just thought, wow, you know what that tells me? That we're involved in we're involved in a lot of stuff that doesn't really matter, We're busy doing a lot of things that really don't matter that much. I think a lot of times it starts, we see a need and we start a ministry, but then all of a sudden that ministry, starts something else. You have to do something to keep that going. I remember way back in the, couple decades ago, we thought it was great to have a clothes closet. And we had a very energetic and visionary leader for the clothes closet. And so he began to construct, shelves and label them. And it was amazing how many clothes came to the church. And it was like almost, have you ever seen the movie The Blob way back? You know how the thing just sort of grows and just consumes pretty much everything in its path, Well, it became the glob. And those clothes began to take over all of the Sunday school space. And the problem was we weren't really distributing, all those clothes. We were collecting. And it was a painful decision I had to make, and not real popular with 1 or 2 people, that, you know what? I pulled up the white flag. We gave up the clothes closet, We will support some of the local Goodwill stores that do it a lot better than we ever will. And so, but that's sort of what happens a lot of times. Sometimes the Lord leads us to points where we stop and we have to really re-examine, does this really matter? Is this really important, what I'm spending so much time doing? And I think that's a great thing that, one of the positives that came out of it. With that said, though, something else has happened, and this is sort of what's prompting my message. It's sort of the post-pandemic combined with the economic downturn. I know we've had a surge recently last week, but no one thinks that's really going to hold. And even with the surge, we're down so far. If you've got a 401k, then I think you've probably decided that you're not going to retire this year. And maybe not next year, okay? And so it's been really rough like that. Even the EFI's financial reserves has not been immune to this downturn. I mean, it's sobering, how things can happen because, for so long, it was just up and to the right, and then, man, alive, it's like, whoa. So with all of that, I want to offer a warning. And I have to be careful with these back-to-back blows that we've been, with the looming recession and all the things that can chip away at our faith and our vision. And this is what I think we have to be so careful with. So number 2, we must not allow caution to replace courage. I'm telling you something, and I'll get to it. Like I said, I'm having a hard time not getting ahead of myself. Did you know I've noticed something that's been very subtle? Some pastors I've seen have lost their sense of spiritual adventure. I know that's a funny way to put it, but it's just really the truth. Whereas before, they were ready to charge hell with a water pistol, let's go. Hey, that sounds like fun, let's do it. Now it's like, maybe we should be a little more cautious, And there's that little bit of hesitancy. And it's really kind of surprising. And many have taken that conservative and cautious approach to the future. And I think a lot of us are at a crossroads at this time. And this is a very serious thing. We have these lingering questions. What if this economic downturn turns into a full-blown recession? What if it lasts longer? What if another variant breaks loose on the planet? What if it affects people's giving? What if more people leave and don't come back to church? And Proverbs talks about this kind of cautious, fearful preservation mentality. And this is the verse the Lord gave me several months ago. In Proverbs 22:13, it says, the lazy person claims, there's a lion out there. If I go outside, I might be killed. There's a lion. As George Bush would say, perilous times have come. America and perilous, that's two things he got. Perilous times have come. And people, there's this caution. If I plan too big, I may embarrass myself and lose credibility. If I take a step of faith, I might come up short, and people may begin to question my leadership. You've never thought anything like that, but other people have. If I try to extend my reach, if I make a greater commitment, another pandemic may happen. Good Lord, Putin may drop the atomic bomb. And so we become cautious. We become a little hesitant. Haven't you heard? Don't you ever watch the news? There's a lion out there, for crying out loud. Well, that leads me to point number 3. There's always been a lion outside. I mean, let's just face it. I mean, maybe in the last season, the lion's got a little more up close and personal, but he's always been there. He's always been whispering in our ear. Great idea, but you sure you want to commit to that? That sounds wonderful, but are you sure you can afford that? Don't you think it's time right now that we begin to operate from a position of strength? That sounds wonderful, doesn't it? But I'm going to ask you a question. Whose strength are you wanting to operate from? Oh, you want to operate from a position, does that mean your strength? And I can tell you then that's not a good plan. But yet these things can sound good. And sometimes they can seem wise, and maybe dealing with your personal private finances they might be. But when it comes to the kingdom of God and what he's calling us to do, I want you to know that's dangerous ground. And we have to be careful to purge it out of our churches and out of our hearts. When security becomes the dominant motivator, vision always has to take a back seat. Did you get that? Maybe I should repeat that. When security becomes the dominant motivator, we got to, let's take care of everything. Then vision always is somewhere way back there. And you know what suffers when we get like this? Some of you might be way ahead of me on this, but we'll see. Let me tell you what suffers when you start becoming fearful and start looking at security and what you think maybe you can afford and things like that, you begin to lose. First thing to go is your local and global outreach. That's it. That's the first to go. And this is kind of the way it is, okay? Okay, I don't know that y'all can see this, but here we are. This is the church. And then we have to deal with all the pandemic things and trials and tests. And so but there are a few things we're committed to around that. You know what that is? That's salaries. That's salaries. We'll pay the salaries. What's next? That was kind of supposed to be funny, but it didn't create any laughs. The next is like our mortgage. You got rent, we got to pay that. But let me just say then, what about the kingdom? What happens here? This is who God's called us to. Listen, God hasn't called you to that, okay? I mean, that's okay. I mean, it seems to work, okay? But that's not what God's called us to. God's called us to this, and anything that threatens this, we need to re-examine. And I want to talk to us about how to make sure that we don't get, once you get stuck here, it's very hard to break out. Somewhere, somehow, somebody's going to have to take a step of faith, or you're going to be stuck there the rest of your life. Did you know that security is not even mentioned in the Great Commission? It's amazing. You can have security and you can have faith, but you can't have both. Because if you got security, you don't need faith. You don't need faith if you have security. In fact, I'll put it this way. Your first step of faith comes after the last step of security. The first step of faith comes after the last step of your comfort zone, where you've got all the answers. We can handle this. I know we can do all that back there. The first step of faith is when you leave that behind. That's where the miracles, by the way, are. The provision, the supernatural. It's there. It's not back there. You don't need it back there. It's in that first step that's so important. So instead of security, all we really need is a word from God. That's all we need. His word is more powerful than any disease, economic downturn, bank balance, whatever you have going on. His word is more powerful than any of that. And you know, did you know that sometimes listening is more important than activity? And that's hard to do when we're trying to do better and trying to see growth and trying to see things happen. Sometimes it's hard to commit ourselves to just be listeners. But that is like the most important thing that can happen right now. Everything, and some of you have been doing this a while, so you know it's true. Just look back in your ministry, everything, that's a big word, but I'll say it again. Everything you and I have done that is still standing or still bearing fruit was a result of a word we heard from God. Think back. Everything. Everything that has lasting value that's attached to us of what we've been able to contribute, everything that has lasting value is a result of something we heard from God and responded to. And people got excited, God moved, miracles happened. and it was wonderful. You know, Jesus is preaching along the seashore, and he sees a boat. And he tells the owner to push out a little way so people can hear. This is in Luke 5, and it was Peter. And so Peter pushes out a little ways, and Jesus is up there preaching. Peter, I don't know, he's probably thinking, I could be cleaning the nets right now. We had a bad night last night, you know, we need to get out bright and early again. But what's he doing? He's having to sit there and listen. Something very interesting, though, happens. In verse 4, it says, and when he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, put out into the deep and let down the nets for a catch. Peter didn't know this at the time, but I can tell you, I've waited months to get just a simple word. Just a simple word. I've begged, cried, prayed, and sought the Lord. Because when that word comes, I want you to know, everything changes, church. It all changes. And so Peter, he said, put out a little ways. And have you ever noticed that when God speaks to us, his timing is just awful? Have you ever noticed that? Have you ever noticed that God will tell you to give something that you desperately need yourself every single time, it seems like? And there's a reason for that. And so Simon, being the great man of faith, said, Master, we've worked hard all night. We hadn't caught anything. I've visited people. I've prayed for people. I've preached my heart out. I've served. I've done everything I know to do, everything I've learned, everything that I've read, everything that I've done it all. And I'm not making any progress. We're stuck. We're not seeing growth. We're not seeing increase. But he doesn't stop there. You got to love this. But because you say so. He didn't know it, but that's all he needed. Because when he says so, it's going to be so. But because you say so, it doesn't make sense. The timing is obviously off. But because you say so, I'll go. It's a rough time, but because you say so, I'll go. I'll give. Because you say so, Lord, I'll serve. Because you say so, Lord, I'll help. Because you say so. I'm telling you, when he put down those nets, every fish must have had a GPS for that net. I am telling you what's the truth, man. They filled that one up. They got another one. They filled it. The boat was sinking. I want you to know something. They had revival. God came through because he said so. He said, I will do it. And that's where we are right now. It may seem like you're just sitting in the boat. It may seem like you're just wasting your time, but I want you to know something. If you're seeking and you're listening, you're actually preparing for your greatest miracle. And when Jesus was ready, he spoke. And everything changed forever. So number 3, there's always a line outside, but number 4, there's another line outside. Number 4, there's another lion outside, and it's a capital L. The Lion of the tribe of Judah. the heir to David's throne, our master and savior, the one who has all power, the one who has all resource, the one who gave everything for us, all power. There's another line outside, and he wants to do great and mighty things. And he wants to help us through our difficult moments and through our trials and troubles. He loves us. John the Revelator in Revelations 5 said, I began to weep bitterly because no one was found worthy to open the scroll and read it. Then one of the 24 elders said to me, stop weeping. Look. I think this is a word. Stop weeping and look. The Lion of the tribe of Judah, the heir to David's throne, has won the victory. He's worthy. He's worthy to open the scroll and its 7 seals. Stop weeping over the past and start looking at the ripened harvest and the vastness of opportunities all around us. It's not been easy. It's been a challenge. But I believe the Lion of the tribe of Judah has something to say to you in this conference. It was 5 years ago, sitting right where Tim is sitting right now. I had been seeking God for the future of the church. I was spent. I was done. Every morning for a year, an hour before anybody got here, I went down in the last room, put the heat on in that room for some reason. And every morning praying, God, what can I do? What can I do? What is next? I tried to mentor some young guys and spent 6 months and it didn't pan out. You know, they just didn't feel called. And when that happened, you know, it was like back to ground zero again. I mean, I was back to where I started, crying out to God. I did not know what to do, what direction to take. I didn't have any answers at all. And all of a sudden, some young guys up here speaking, and God just gives me 4 words. And everything changed. Everything. I mean, literally, in 10 seconds, I knew what God wanted, and I knew what it would take. I'm here to say that God wants to do something powerful for you. I know it's frustrating. I know sometimes, you know, you've done everything maybe you know to do. You've worked all night and you hadn't caught anything. But God is saying, if you'll just listen to me, if you'll just continue to seek me, I will speak to you. And when he speaks to us, I want you to know something. Everything changes. Everything. And I think a lot of us, if you had the opportunity to come up here right now, could give the same testimony. Over and over. It was just those simple words. I'll close with this. In 2 Corinthians chapter 6, God says, I heard you at the right time. I'll tell you what, some of us could probably debate God on that point. But he says, you know, I know it was hard. I know you were frustrated. I know you were struggling. I know you had to watch some difficult things happen. I know you experienced some betrayals. I know there was some loss involved here and there. But God says this, I heard you at the right time, and I gave you help on the day of salvation. Now, if I'm going to tell you, you can go to the bank on this, people. I tell you that the right time is what? Now. The day of salvation is now. The time is now. Did you know that tonight could be your night? Tonight could be the night that you get that word from the Lord. If it could happen to me, I can tell you it can happen to anybody. That frustration, that wall that you've been up against, you've done everything you've known to do, you've tried everything, but you know something, God is leading you to that place of appointment because He will hear you at the right time. And He will speak to you what you need to get to the next level. And some of us, we really need that right now in our life. And I want to pray for us tonight. I want us to take a moment where we really come to terms with where we are. I think some of us have to decide which line are we going to listen to. That roaring one or the one that's won the victory? The accuser that's telling us all that we haven't done and how we haven't measured up and how we haven't accomplished anything and how most people by now would have done a whole lot more than you've done with your life and all that. Are you going to listen to the victorious one who says, I've got a future for you that's more powerful and more wonderful than you've ever dreamed of? Just hang on. Keep your heart open. Keep your heart open. Keep your heart tender. Because I'm going to speak to you, and when I do, everything changes. I want us to stand. By the way, tomorrow night, Javon's going to be here. And we have breaking news tomorrow night. I've been keeping it a secret. Nobody knows. But it's going to be breaking news, and it's going to be exciting. So if we could have a little music up here. I'm not real good at this. This is the part that I probably have the least gifting in. All I know is I want to pray for you. I know that there are some of you here that you came and you were like, Pastor, this is it. I've got to hear something. There's got to be a breakthrough. I've done everything I know to do, and I do not know what else to do. And it's been so discouraging. It's taken everything you could to even work it up to come to the conference, hoping and praying that God would speak to you while you're here. I want you to know something. You've got people in this room that care about you and that love you and that want to serve you and help you. So while we're in this moment of great silence, if you would like prayer, I want you just to move forward, just to come out, and we're just going to be together here, and we're not going to drag this out for a long time. But for some of us here, this was the reason we came. We really need this breakthrough. We need God to touch us. We need to hear that voice. And we need to know that God has our attention, and He wants to minister to us. And that this is going to be the time, there's going to be a breakthrough moment for God to speak to us. I want you to know I understand the frustration. I understand the challenge. I think this is an important moment because I think that this is a time where we're not really moved by emotion, that we're really moved by a sense of desperation with God. We desire God to come through for us. And we believe that He wants to. We believe that He wants to come through for us. And if He wants to come through for us, people, He will. He will. I can tell you right now, nobody can stop God. I'd like to ask for our board to come up, our EFI board, if you would, to come forward. Because some of the finest people in the world are standing right up here. Godly, humble men and women of God. And they're serious about the work of the Lord. They're serious about the call of God upon their life. And they're determining right now that nothing is going to stop them. Nothing's going to slow them down. They're not going to be distracted. They're not going to listen to the wrong voices whispering in their ear. But this is a time for clarity, for God to affirm and confirm what He has called them to do. So if you would just go along and just pray for these, just lay hands upon each one of these. We'll just pray together. Just go ahead and lay hands upon these. Thank you, Jesus.